Everyone, welcome back to the S Room podcast. Today we have a very great person today that's going to come on and talk about his previous experience with law enforcement. Mr. Joseph Patrick, we welcome you to the show.
Hey, thank you, Skyler, for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Of course. Joe, you're an independent author, and you started out in life more than 25 years ago as a firefighter, right?
Correct.
So you told me about 7 years into your career, you switched over to the police, and we're just going to ask you why you did that and, what kind of brought you into it.
Sure, Skyler. I always had an interest in law enforcement. I had friends in the fire department. I gave the fire department a try. There were a few meth fires in our community. I helped the police do some investigations. Eventually, I discovered that I was a good firefighter, but I was a much better fit for the police department. And then the chief of police approached me and said, "We'll sponsor you to go through the police academy if you're interested." And that was the opportunity I was looking for.
Yeah. So, out of all your calls, like your 911 calls and calls to the police department, what was your most interesting one?
Most interesting one. Got a call one morning of a suspicious incident. It came in as a woman that was missing, elderly woman is missing with dementia, and through a series of strange incidents, we realized the lady had maybe took off from the house to go to church, but she was confused, and when we went by the church to try to find her, we realized she probably had drove by the church and went into the next community. By a fluke, I was doing a U-turn, and I looked out the side window of the cruiser and noticed a car down in the ditch that fit the description of the lady, and walked up to the car, and there she was, elderly lady trapped in the car with dementia. Got on the radio, called rescue, managed to get my arm through one window and talk to her, and quiet her down. But it was the uniqueness of not having good information at the beginning and a couple of lucky breaks that we found this lady within about an hour and a half of a 911 call. To the people who called us, they thought we did a miracle, but it was good luck.
Yeah. What was your most embarrassing moment? Have you ever had one?
Yeah, I've had an embarrassing moment. As a police officer, they train you that at the end of a traffic stop, it's really important to get the papers back to people, because you got their driver's license, insurance, and registration, and if you forget to hand it back to them, if you set it on the dashboard, they drive on and take the chance of getting pulled over by another police officer, and they say, "I had my papers earlier today, but this police officer took them from me." It's something that one officer might tease another officer about, not getting the paperwork at the end of the traffic stop, and you have the luxury of having their address and phone number at your availability. And I did do a traffic stop early in my career, forgot to give the license back, had to drive by the house, knock on the door and say, "Oh, by the way, Mr. Smith, I pulled you over early this morning, and this driver's license belongs to you."
We all have embarrassing moments, so. And that's just the truth of life.
I only did it once, and the lesson stuck with me.
All right. So, what is it like working in a country or rural police department?
Yeah, it's really interesting how different. I've had friends that are in a metro police or suburban police. In a rural department, you're going to have lack of resources. You're going to have a long lead time between calling for backup. You're going to have to think creatively, and on occasion, maybe work with people on the police fire department, or call the surrounding community, and And I've even had people with the Public Works Department out trying to help me get a car out of a ditch to get it towed. So it's all about creative solutions when you're in a small rural community, and on occasion leaning on your friends to come help you.
Yeah, I mean, you got to do what you got to do if you're in a troubled
Got to do what you.
accident. So.
Yeah, yeah. When you have limited resources, you got to think creatively to find a solution.
So I think one question a lot of people could ask is, why is the court system so complicated?
Yeah, yeah. The court system in this country is really complicated because it's a very antiquated system that was set up a long time ago, and society and people have changed a lot. And I think what it gets right down to is the fact that maybe the system was set up for a certain amount of crimes in a year's period, and sometimes we have 3 or 4 times as many cases nowadays than we did maybe 30 years ago, and it's just always backed up, always overscheduled, and there's appears to be for most people frustration around the court system, and I don't totally blame them.
Yeah. So you did you take a substantial, or I'm sorry, I'm having trouble pronouncing the word here. What did you take from the local government to work for FEMA after Hurricane Katrina?
Yeah, I did take I took a pretty good bonus to go down there and do that. They did come around to a lot of emergency management in different counties all over the United States to recruit people, and they gave us a sizable bonus, a 5-figure bonus to go down there and work with the recovery. What most people didn't realize was the working conditions were really tough. There was a ton of
Yeah.
overtime, and when you backed in the total amount they paid for the time, it was pretty close to the same salary I would have made staying home. It just was a ton of overtime.
Yeah, I mean they do, and especially now, global warming and a lot more storms now. You know, they're working extra hard, so we thank them for that. So you're an author as well. And
Yes.
before we get to that, I'm gonna ask you, how was your first day of the police academy back then? Like,
Yeah, yeah, it was a long time ago. It was really interesting. I had friends who went through the police academy. I had envisioned walking in and having one experience, and it was substantially different. Um, when I walked in, I thought there would be a substantial higher amount of structure at the very end, at the very beginning of it. It was super structured when you got into it. But we walked into a briefing room, and a bunch of training officers up there basically telling us that it was going to probably be the most difficult and painful next 6 months of our lives, and that we were supposed to prepare to adjust and overcome obstacles. And there was a lot of adjustment and a lot of overcoming difficulty.
I'm sure. And what was the training like for you?
For me personally, the written curriculum was reasonably tough. The firearms, I was actually a really good shot before I came to the police academy, and the physical fitness aspect I did really well. Overall, when you took all three of them and you had to get a good score in all three and average up, it was really challenging.
I'm sure. And what now we're gonna get into your offering, since
Yeah.
you're retired from the police, right?
Retired
So,
from the police. Still do a little reserve work, but yeah, retired from the police. I had a series of unique experiences. I had a realization one day listening to an audiobook that I should probably write my own book, and that's what got me to being an author.
yeah. So what would be the best and worst part of being an author?
Yeah, the best part of being an author is working on your own terms at your own hours. I like to get up real early in the morning, try to write out a paragraph or two, get a little exercise and edit in the afternoon. If I have a busy day, if I want to go spend time with my kids, or I want to go run an errand or something, I can just shut the computer off and go do what I want and come back to it on my own terms. That's the best part. Probably the worst part of being an author is that you get a small advance on a book, then you do a lot of work for a year or two, and then you get a paycheck when the project is done.
Right. And I'm sure it takes a long time to even develop a book, and just a lot
About
of.
three years. Most people don't realize it's 3 years from the initial outline till it actually goes to ink.
Yeah, that's quite a long time and a process, I'm sure.
Big project, yeah.
So, and you have a new book out. Is it? Yeah, it's out now, right? And it's
Yes.
called To Die a Hero, and we're gonna present that here on the screen. Right here. So, To Die a Hero, yep, it can be purchased on Amazon, $14.99 paperback, and Kindle it is $0.
Yeah,
It's
Kindle.
$3.99 to buy. Okay.
Yeah. $3.99 for the Kindle. Zero for Kindle Unlimited. I suggest people give the Kindle Unlimited a try. Read a little bit of it. It's really great. It's a really great book, and you can pick it up on Kindle or paperback. Amazon's probably the easiest place to find it.
Right. And so after you did retire, you discovered your, I guess, inner author, right? And
Yes.
have you faced any life-threatening moments in your life?
Yeah, I've had a couple. I wouldn't want to ruin the book. There is a really interesting point in the 22nd chapter that I would. I'd rather have people buy the book and
Oh,
read it so that it's not ruined. But one of my best experiences that didn't make it in the book was when I was down in New Orleans, down there. It was really a tragedy. The hurricane came through. There was devastation, but we would go out on search and rescue at night, and on occasion, looters would drive by in a truck and shoot at us and try to scare us away from places where there were valuables and expensive cars and boats and whatnot. So
yeah,
I have definitely faced some interesting trouble in my life.
yeah, I'm sure. And of course, y'all can go check out the book on Amazon. And the book is fictionalized version of your experience to protect the privacy of people that were
Yeah,
involved back then.
it's totally fictionalized, and no real names, dates, or addresses, just a fictionalized version to protect everyone involved.
Have you gotten any 5-star ratings from anybody?
Yes, I think it's called, yeah, there's a fiction place, and Goodreads have gave me a 5-star, and right now on Amazon it's 4.5 stars with 4,200 reviews. So the book is selling great, and I'm very thankful.
Yeah, and Google Books describes you as a major independent author, right?
Yes, that is correct. And that is my second book. I have a first book in 2017 called Life and Death in Small Town America. And the second book here is changed a little bit so that I've got End of Watch 1, and then about 2 or 3 years from now should be coming out with To Die a Hero, End of Watch 2, and there may be an actual third in this series. Not sure what the timeline will be.
Yeah. So growing up, I'm guessing you watched a lot of police shows. I don't know what they had back then, but
Yeah, I sure did. There was a TV show called CHIPS, California Highway Patrol. Ponch and John, if you're old enough to remember that. Two guys on motorcycles. They were California Highway Patrol guys. It was an interesting show, and as a kid, when I saw that, I saw the adventure aspect to that job. I said, I gotta go out and have that experience someday.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it brought you to a good X amount of years in it, and now you're writing about it.
Yep, yep.
Well, we appreciate you coming on the show today. We had a great time with you.
Hey, Skyler, it's been a pleasure, and if you ever want to have me back on again, it'd be my pleasure to come on.
All right, well, I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, and remember, everyone else can follow us if you're listening on the audio-only platform, and subscribe if you're viewing on our video platform, YouTube. And make sure you give it a like and a comment. And make sure you go check out Joseph's new book, To Die a Hero, on Amazon. Thank you. And we'll catch you on the next one.